I've lived long enough to forget many things, but not that night. Some memories fade, others stain the soul so deeply that no amount of time can wash them away. What happened in 1986, when I was 34, became the dividing line of my life. Everything before it feels like a different man's story. It began on a Thursday. I remember because the desert air carried a strange stillness that evening, as if the Nevada sky itself were holding its breath. I was a soldier stationed near a remote testing range, used to long nights, empty landscapes, and silence thick enough to hear your own heartbeat. Nothing ever truly surprised me out there. Until that night. I was halfway through a routine patrol when I saw it, a flash of white-blue light tearing across the sky, silent but violent, like lightning that had forgotten to make sound. At first I thought it was a flare, then maybe aircraft debris, or even a test gone wrong. But the trajectory was too controlled, too purposeful. It didn't fall, it descended. I stopped my vehicle and stepped out onto the hard desert ground. The air smelled like dust and heat, but underneath it I sensed something else. A metallic tang, sharp enough to taste. And then came the tremor, small but unmistakable. Not an explosion. More like the earth reacting to something that didn't belong to it. My training told me to radio it in. My instincts told me not to. Instead, I grabbed my flashlight and followed the faint plume rising in the distance. Every step I took made the silence heavier, as if the desert were trying to warn me or invite me. I'm still not sure which. When I reached the impact site, my breath caught in my throat. The sand was scorched in a perfect oval, glowing faintly as if lit from beneath. Shards of metal, smooth, curved, unlike anything I had ever seen, were scattered in a ring. They reminded me of a machine, but no machine made by our hands. No screws, no bolts, no seams, just fluid lines, like something grown rather than built. The flashlight trembled in my hand. That was when I heard it. A faint sound. Not an animal, not a human, more like a whimper and a hum fused together. It came from behind a cluster of rocks. My pulse hammered against my ribs, and for the first time in years, I felt fear. Not the quick, sharp kind a soldier feels in combat, but the deep kind, the kind that comes with knowing you're about to see something you can't ever unsee. I moved slowly, careful with each step as the sound grew louder. My hand hovered near my holster, though something inside me whispered that a weapon wouldn't matter. When I rounded the last rock, I froze. There, crumpled on the sand, was a figure unlike anything I had ever seen. Small, fragile-looking, its skin shimmering in the beam of my flashlight. It wasn't grey or green like the stories say. It was a pale silver, almost translucent, as if light from within struggled to escape. Its limbs were long and thin, its chest rose and fell with difficulty, and its eyes, large, dark, impossibly expressive, locked onto mine. I should have run. I should have called for backup. Instead, something in those eyes made me kneel beside it. "Easy," I whispered, not sure if it could even understand me. The creature flinched but didn't turn away. Its breathing was shallow, irregular. It looked scared, hurt, alone. Then it happened. A voice, clear, calm, unmistakably intelligent, spoke inside my mind. "Do not fear." I stumbled backward, breathless. The creature hadn't opened its mouth. It hadn't moved. But the words vibrated through my skull like a thought that wasn't mine. My fear didn't vanish, but something else rose above it, compassion. I want to help you," I said, my voice shaking. The creature blinked slowly, as if weighing my intentions. Then, again in my mind, "Water, please." That was the moment everything changed. The moment I crossed a line I could never step back over, because in that instant I understood one thing with absolute clarity. This being was alive. It was intelligent, and it was afraid of dying alone on my planet. So I did what no protocol, no manual, no commanding officer would have allowed. I reached out and took its hand. Carrying that creature, that being, in my arms felt like stepping into a different reality. One moment I was a soldier patrolling a quiet desert. The next, I was holding something the world wasn't ready to believe existed. Its skin was cooler than mine, almost weightless, and the faint glow beneath its surface pulsed weakly, like a dying ember struggling to stay alive. I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see headlights or hear radio chatter, but the desert was silent, too silent. Even the wind seemed to hold back, as if the night itself didn't want to interfere. Before moving the creature, I needed to understand what had fallen from the sky. I laid it gently against a rock, whispering, "Stay with me," though I had no idea if it understood English. Then I turned back toward the wreckage. The craft, if I could even call it that, was unlike anything built on Earth. No rivets, no joints, no scorch marks from engines, just an organic, seamless structure, twisted and cracked from the impact. When I touched a piece of the metal, it felt warm and almost alive, like it reacted to my skin. A faint hum vibrated through the air, not mechanical but harmonic, like a low musical note trapped beneath the sand. The sensation traveled up my arm. Instinct made me step back. Whatever this thing was, it hadn't been designed by human hands. As I studied the fragments scattered across the ground, I noticed symbols etched into one of the pieces. Smooth curves and patterns that looked more like flowing script than technology. They shimmered faintly, fading in and out like something losing power. I reached out to brush sand off the markings, and suddenly a wave of dizziness hit me. For a split second, flashes filled my mind. Distant stars, swirling colors, a sense of speed and motion, and then nothing. The vision disappeared as quickly as it came. I staggered forward, grabbing my knees. It wasn't my imagination. Something, maybe the craft itself, had shown me a sliver of its origin. When I returned to the being, it was breathing faster, shallow, as if slipping away. Panic stabbed through me. "Hey, stay with me," I whispered, kneeling beside it. Its large eyes opened slowly, focusing on me, not with fear, almost with trust. Then the voice returned inside my mind, weaker this time. Pain, escalating, need, refuge. I swallowed hard. I had no medical kit meant for this, and calling for backup, that would be the same as condemning it. Military protocol was clear: unidentified craft, unidentified entity, secure the site, and wait for containment units. And once those units arrived, this being wouldn't be treated like someone injured. It would be treated like a threat. My heart pounded with a certainty I couldn't explain. I couldn't let that happen. "I know a place," I said. "A supply shelter near the ridge. I can take you there." The being blinked once, a slow, deliberate gesture, and I felt something in my chest tighten. Maybe it was gratitude, maybe it was fear, maybe it was the weight of a decision I couldn't take back. I lifted it again, surprised by its fragility. Its body was lighter than a child's, but unnervingly cold. With each step toward the ridge, I felt that coldness seep through my uniform, as if its life force were flickering. Halfway there, the being stirred in my arms. Its head tilted slightly, and an image, sharp and vivid, flashed inside my mind. A soft blue light, warm and enveloping, like a memory of safety. Then the voice came again, thinner, fraying at the edges. "Shelter. Hurry." I walked faster, boots crunching against the desert rock. The shelter wasn't far now, just a small storage unit dug into the ground, meant for emergencies. As I approached, I glanced back at the crash site. The glow was fading. Soon, someone would notice it. And once they did, everything would change. Inside the shelter, I set the being on a blanket and grabbed my canteen. Its thin fingers reached out weakly, touching the metal. The moment water touched its lips, its skin brightened slightly, like embers catching breath. Its voice echoed softly in my mind. "Thank you, human." I froze, not because of the words, but because of the tone, gentle, sincere, almost humble. I realized then that this creature wasn't just wounded. It was alone, afraid, far from home. And for some reason I couldn't yet understand, it trusted me. Inside that dim emergency shelter, lit only by a flickering bulb and the weak glow from the creature's skin, I realized how unprepared I was for any of this. My hands were shaking, not from fear of the being, but from fear of doing something wrong. I was a soldier, trained for combat, not for whatever this was. The creature lay curled on the blanket, chest rising unevenly, each breath a struggle. I had seen wounded men in battle, but this was different. Its pain didn't look physical, it looked deeper, like something inside its very essence was unstable. I crouched beside it. "Can you understand me?" I asked softly. The creature didn't move its mouth, but the answer vibrated gently inside my mind. "Yes, I understand." I swallowed. Hearing a voice in my head should have terrified me, but there was something calm about it, something that softened the fear before it could grow. "What happened out there?" I asked. For a moment the shelter filled with silence. Then images, not words, poured into my mind. A vessel traveling through a tunnel of light, a sudden rupture, chaos, and falling through darkness toward an unfamiliar world. When the vision ended, I steadied myself against the wall. It had shown me everything without touching me, without speaking. "You crashed," I whispered. "Damaged, malfunction," the voice answered. "I was not meant to descend here." A dozen questions burned in my throat. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why Earth? But I knew I had to start with the most urgent one. "What can I do to help you? Tell me." The creature's eyes opened wider, shimmering like black mirrors. Then it raised one trembling hand and touched my wrist. The contact was barely a brush, but a shiver ran up my arm, cold, yet strangely peaceful. It showed me another vision, heat, pressure, a dull red glow beneath its skin, like a system inside its body failing. Then the message came. "My core, destabilizing, need rest, need safety." I could give it rest. I could give it shelter. But safety, that was the one thing I couldn't promise. Outside, the wind began to pick up, the desert's way of warning that dawn was approaching. Soon my absence from patrol would be noticed. Soon radio checks would start. I didn't have much time. "I'll stay here with you for now," I said. "But at some point, someone will come looking." Its gaze didn't waver. "If they find me, I will not survive." The weight of those words pressed against my chest. No anger, no accusation, just the truth. I knew exactly what would happen if military intelligence took control. This being wouldn't be treated as a crash survivor. It would be treated as an asset or a threat. "Then we'll make sure they don't," I said before I could stop myself. The creature blinked slowly, its version of a nod, I had learned. Suddenly it flinched. Pain surged through its body, and the luminescence under its skin flickered violently. Its limbs tightened, its breath turned ragged. I leaned forward, instinct taking over. Hey, stay with me." I lifted its shoulders gently, supporting its head. A wave of cold shot through my hands where I touched it, but I didn't pull away. I couldn't. It felt as though something inside it was collapsing, like a power source flickering out. Then through the pain, the voice pushed desperately into my mind. "Not fear, don't fear." It wasn't asking for help. It was worried about me. That broke something inside me. This being was dying, alone on a planet that wasn't its home, and still it cared whether I was afraid. I steadied my voice. "You're not dying tonight," I said. "Not while I'm here." Slowly the trembling eased. The glow steadied. Its breathing calmed into a fragile rhythm. I didn't move my hand away. Neither did it. After a long moment, the creature spoke again, this time more clearly, more deliberately. "You are not like the others." I frowned. "What others?" "Your kind. Many fear what they do not understand." I exhaled, a heavy truth settling over me. "You shouldn't trust me," I admitted. "I'm a soldier. My job is to follow orders." Its eyes softened with something that felt like understanding, maybe even compassion. "And yet, you chose to save me." I didn't have a reply, because deep down I knew why. That night, something bigger than duty had taken hold of me, something I couldn't explain, something that made me protect a stranger from the stars. Outside, the first hint of dawn touched the horizon. My time was running out. But whatever happened next, I knew I couldn't turn back now. I had crossed the line, and I would cross it again. Dawn crept over the desert like a slow-burning fire, painting the horizon in pale orange and dusty gold. I watched the light seep through the cracks of the shelter door, and with every passing minute, my anxiety tightened. Once the sun came up fully, my absence would be impossible to hide. Someone would radio me, someone would notice. But the being, this fragile visitor who had crashed into my world, needed time, and I needed answers. "Are you stable now?" I asked quietly. Its chest rose and fell with more control than before. The glow beneath its skin pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of a creature not meant for this planet. "For now," the voice echoed gently inside my mind. "But I remain weakened." I sat cross-legged beside it, my back against a stack of supply crates. "Why can I hear you like this? Inside my head, I mean." Its eyes shifted toward me, not a turn of the head, just a movement of those enormous black irises. "My kind communicates through resonance," it explained. "Thought to thought. Emotion to emotion. Words are limited." I let out a soft breath. "I'm barely keeping up with English," I muttered, rubbing my temples. And then something I never expected. A soft, rippling sound echoed inside my mind. Laughter, not mocking, not cruel, warm. "You are humorous," it said. I shook my head, overwhelmed by how surreal everything felt. "Humorous isn't how most people describe me." "I know," the being answered. "You carry much weight inside." I froze. What weight? Images, not mine, flashed in my mind. Uniforms folded neatly, medals in a drawer, a pair of boots beside a hospital bed. Grief, regret, loneliness. It wasn't reading my memories. It was reading my heart. I swallowed hard. "Stop, please." Immediately, the visions ceased. "I apologize," it whispered inside me. "I mean no harm." "I know," I said quietly. And I did. Somehow I trusted that. I needed to shift the conversation before my own emotions tangled further. "What do I call you? Do you have a name?" The creature hesitated. Then, like a gentle breeze brushing the back of my mind, it offered a single sound, not spoken, but felt. A soft, melodic vibration that carried comfort and distance all at once. "I cannot speak it in your tongue," it explained, "but you may call me Kyle. It is close enough." Kyle. Simple, peaceful. "All right, Kyle," I said, the name fitting more naturally than I expected. "Why were you traveling near Earth? Was it intentional?" Kyle closed its eyes, and a faint wave of sadness washed over me. Not my sadness, but its own. "My mission was not to land," it said. "I was observing, learning, watching the unfolding of your kind." "Watching us?" I asked, startled. "For what?" "Your species stands between two paths," Kyle replied, "one of unity or one of destruction." A chill ran through me, even though the shelter was warm. "Why would we matter so much?" Kyle exhaled shakily. "Because your world carries an ancient echo, one my people have known for ages." "An echo of what?" I pressed. Kyle didn't answer with words this time. Instead, a sensation flooded my mind, gentle warmth, deep compassion, something so familiar and yet so far beyond me. Then a name formed inside my consciousness, not spoken by Kyle, not spoken by me. A name that silenced everything inside me. Jesus. I stiffened. Kyle sensed it. "Your reaction is strong," it observed gently. I didn't speak right away. My entire chest felt tight. "Why did you show me that?" "Because your people believe his message is only yours," Kyle replied. "But compassion exists far beyond your world. It is a universal force, recognized across many civilizations." My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. "You're saying Jesus visited your world?" Kyle shook its head slightly. "Not visited, but the essence of his teaching, what you call love, reaches far, farther than you know. We have studied it for centuries." I leaned back, overwhelmed by a truth too big to name. Kyle watched me quietly, sensing the storm inside me. Outside, a faint crackle broke through the silence. My radio, static. Then a voice, "Base to Delta 14, report status. You've been quiet too long." My blood ran cold. Kyle's eyes locked onto mine. "You must choose," it said softly inside my mind. "Hide me, or reveal me." For the first time since the crash, I understood the real danger. Not the craft, not the being, but the world I lived in. The radio crackled again, louder this time, the static buzzing like an alarm under my skin. "Delta 14, respond. Do you copy?" I stared at the device on my belt, knowing that silence was no longer an option. My throat tightened. If I didn't answer, they would send someone. If they sent someone, they would find Kyle. And if they found Kyle, everything would be lost. I pressed the radio to my lips but kept my finger off the transmission button. I needed a lie that sounded true, a delay long enough to respond without raising suspicion. Kyle watched me with those deep, reflective eyes that seemed to hold galaxies and sorrow at the same time. "You are afraid," it whispered inside my mind. "I'm not," I lied automatically, but Kyle tilted its head as if listening to something beneath my heartbeat. "Your fear is not for yourself." It was right. My fear was for him. I pressed the button. "Delta 14 here. Copy. Radio malfunction earlier. Continuing patrol. No anomalies." I released the button before my voice could betray me. The lie hung in the air like smoke. A pause. Then the reply crackled through. "Copy that. Maintain your route. Report in 30. 30 minutes. A countdown to disaster." I turned back to Kyle. "We need to move. If they come this way—" "No," Kyle interrupted, its voice carrying a gentle finality. "I cannot be moved far. My core is unstable. Too much strain will harm me." I knelt beside him, my frustration simmering. "Then tell me what to do. Tell me how to stabilize it." Kyle's eyelids fluttered. "It is not something you can repair. It requires energy my people carry within, a resonance your kind does not possess." I clenched my fists. "Then why show up on a planet where no one can help you?" Kyle looked at me, not offended, not hurt, but with a kind of patient sadness. "I did not choose to fall here," it said. "But I believe there is purpose, even in miscalculation." "Purpose," I echoed. "You think this is some kind of destiny?" "I think," Kyle replied softly, "that you were meant to find me." The words hit me harder than the crash itself. Before I could respond, Kyle's skin flickered violently, its inner glow spasming like a light bulb on the brink of failure. Its body curled inward as if trying to contain something collapsing within. "Kyle!" I grabbed him instinctively. "Stay with me. Hey, keep your eyes open. Stay with me." A wave of cold burst from his body, numbing my hands. Then, like a door slamming open inside my skull, a flood of sensations poured into me. Not images, not words, but presence, a warmth, a vastness, a compassion so overwhelming it made my eyes burn. And then a voice, not Cale's, echoed through the depth of that sensation. A voice I had heard only in prayer, in childhood hymns, in moments of despair when I begged for comfort. A voice I never thought would answer. "Do not fear." I staggered back, trembling. Kyle gasped, the glow under his skin stabilizing briefly. I was breathless. What was that? Kyle looked at me with an expression so gentle, so ancient. It frightened me more than the crash ever had. "You felt what guides us," Kyle said, "what binds all life, what your people have tried to name for centuries." I swallowed. That wasn't just a presence. "No," Kyle said. "It was the reflection of a truth your world was given long ago." My voice cracked. "Jesus?" Kyle did not nod. It did not need to. "In our records," it explained slowly, "there is knowledge of a messenger of light, a being of compassion sent to ignite awakening across many worlds. Your people know him by one name, others know him by another. The essence is the same." I felt my pulse thundering. "Are you telling me he's universal?" Kyle's voice softened. "Love is universal. Its messenger cannot belong to only one world." Something inside me broke open. Not faith I had lost years ago, but something deeper, something like recognition. Kyle reached for my wrist again, its touch weaker this time. "You understand why your people were not told. Many are not ready. Many would fear what should comfort them." "And you think I'm ready?" I whispered. "You listened," Kyle said. "That is the beginning of readiness." The glow beneath Kyle's skin dimmed again. The trembling returned. Its breaths grew shallow. "We are out of time," Kyle whispered. "Your people will come. They must not find me." My heart sank. "Then tell me where to take you. I'll carry you." Kyle closed its eyes. "No, not yet." "Then what?" I demanded. Kyle opened its eyes slowly. Eyes filled with pain, trust, and something I couldn't name. "You must hide me," it said. "And you must not let them know what I have told you." Outside, the crunch of tires on gravel echoed faintly in the distance. They were coming, and I had 30 minutes left to protect a being who had just rewritten everything I believed. The sound of tires crunching over gravel carried through the desert air like a warning shot. It was faint, far off, but unmistakable. Military vehicles, more than one. My chest tightened. Kyle's eyes opened, their glow dimmer than before. "They are near," he whispered inside my mind. "I know," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady, "but they won't find you. I won't let them." I stood abruptly and scanned the cramped shelter. It wasn't much, just a steel box half buried in the ground, but it was the only barrier between Kyle and the world hunting for him. I needed to think fast. Every second counted. "They will track your route," Kyle murmured. "They will follow your footprints. They will look here." "I'll erase the footprints," I said. Kyle tilted his head slightly. "You cannot erase the fear in your heartbeat." I paused. He wasn't mocking me. He was telling me something else, something deeper. I crouched beside him. "Kyle, tell me how to help you survive, not hide you for minutes. Survive." Kyle's breathing grew shallow again. His glow flickered. "I need time, rest, and the sun, your sun, weakens me. Its radiation disrupts my core." "So you need darkness," I whispered. "I need shelter, true shelter." Kyle's large eyes locked onto mine, heavy with urgency. "Not this." I swallowed. "There's an old service tunnel under the ridge. Nobody uses it anymore. They sealed it off years ago, but I can break the lock." Kyle's voice warmed slightly. Yes, there. The vehicles grew louder, voices echoed faintly in the distance. Radios, doors slamming. I stood up. I'll carry you. Kyle didn't argue this time. He simply lifted one fragile arm, allowing me to slide my hands beneath his body. The moment I lifted him, I felt the cold again. A deep, penetrating cold that made my teeth clench. It was as if his energy was slipping away with every breath. "Hold on," I whispered. Kyle's voice flickered weakly inside my mind. "I trust you." Those 3 words, so simple, so undeserved, filled me with a strange strength. I cracked open the shelter door and peered outside. The sunlight was harsher now, bright enough to expose every mistake. The desert stretched out empty, but far beyond the ridge, dust clouds rose in the air, military tires grinding across stone. They were close. I stepped out, holding Kale against my chest, and kicked sand over the shelter entrance, trying to obscure footprints, trying to confuse direction. But I couldn't stay long. Staying meant death. For him, maybe for me. I hurried toward the ridge, careful with every step. Kyle trembled in my arms. His glow faded with every degree of sunlight touching him. "Just a little more," I whispered, though my throat felt dry. "Hold on, Kyle, please." The service tunnel was hidden behind rock formations, accessible only if you knew the military history of the range. I did. During a storm years back, we had stored equipment there before sealing it off. Now it was nothing but a forgotten scar in the desert. Perfect. I reached the metal hatch, set Kyle down gently, and pulled the old padlock. It was rusty, weak. One strong hit from the butt of my rifle cracked it open. The hatch groaned as I lifted it. Darkness breathed out from below, cool, silent, safe. I turned to Kyle. "We'll go inside. You'll recover there." Kyle's gaze softened. "You risk much." "Not enough," I muttered. Before I could lift him again, Kyle reached out with a trembling hand, touching my cheek. The cold numbed my skin, but beneath the cold was something warm, something that didn't belong to Earth. A pulse of emotion, not words, filled me. Gratitude, sorrow, and something close to prayer. Then Kyle whispered, "Your world does not understand the gift it was given. Many worlds envy you." I frowned. "A gift?" Kyle's eyes brightened faintly, as if remembering something sacred. "The message your people received from the One of Light. You call him by one name. We know him by another. But his essence is the same, compassion that reshapes galaxies." My breath caught. "Why tell me this?" "Because fear will come for me," Kyle said, "but fear must not come for you." I didn't fully understand. Maybe I still don't. But the moment felt like a warning wrapped in blessing. I lifted him once more and descended into the darkness of the tunnel. The cool air embraced us, and Kyle sighed in relief as the sunlight disappeared. Outside, engines roared closer. I shut the hatch just as a convoy reached the ridge. Silence fell over the tunnel. Dark, safe, hidden, but only for now. Inside the service tunnel, the darkness wrapped around us like a thick blanket. The air was cool, still, untouched by the desert heat above. Down here, every sound echoed. My breathing, Kyle's fragile breaths, the distant rumble of military engines searching the ridge. Kyle lay against an old storage platform as I tried to steady my own heartbeat. I listened carefully for signs of movement above us, boots, radios, anyone close enough to hear us. Nothing yet. "We're safe for now," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I meant it. Kyle opened his eyes. In the dim light, their inner glow seemed to pulse more gently. "Your shelter is good." "It won't stay good for long," I said. "They'll sweep the whole area. They'll see the broken lock on the hatch eventually." "Then we must use the time we have," Kyle replied. Even weakened, even in pain, he sounded calm, almost peaceful. It struck me as strange. Here I was, panic clawing at my chest, while the being who had survived a crash from the stars faced death with the dignity of a saint. I sank to the ground beside him. I need you to tell me something. Why Earth? Why us? Kyle turned his gaze toward the ceiling as if looking through the stone, the sand, the sky, into something far beyond. When he spoke, the voice in my mind was softer than before, but clearer, like a whisper made of light. Your world is important, more than your people yet understand. I frowned. Important how? We barely understand ourselves. Exactly, Kyle said. You are young. My people have watched many civilizations rise and fall across the stars, but yours is still awakening. Awakening to what? I asked. To compassion, Kyle answered. To the message brought to you long ago. I felt my breath catch. You mean Jesus? Kyle did not hesitate. We call him the Luminous One, a messenger who came not only for Earth, but for all who are capable of love. The tunnel felt suddenly smaller, heavier. You're saying his teachings weren't meant only for humans? No message of true compassion is meant for only one world, Kyle said. Love does not respect borders of nations or planets. I looked away, overwhelmed. Most people on Earth can't even agree on what to believe. How could we handle something like this? That is why you were not told, Kyle replied gently. Your kind is divided by fear, and fear is the great enemy of truth. I swallowed hard. And what truth is that? Kyle's glow pulsed faintly as if gathering strength. Then I felt a wave of emotion from him. Not a vision, not words, just feeling. A warmth that spread through my chest. A presence beyond definition. A sense of connection, of unity, of purpose. Then Kyle spoke words I will never forget. All life is bound by a single thread, the thread you call love. It is not human, it's not alien, it simply is. The air left my lungs. Something inside me shifted. Not belief. Belief can be forced. This was recognition. But why tell me? I asked quietly. Why not someone with authority? Someone who could change the world? Kyle turned to me, his voice gentle inside my mind. Because the powerful protect fear, but the humble protect truth. I felt that like a blow. All my years of service, all my doubts, all the guilt I carried, and here was a being from another world telling me I mattered in some way I couldn't understand. But the moment shattered when a sound echoed from above us. Boots, multiple pairs, walking directly over the hatch. Kyle tensed. Even without telepathy, I felt his fear. They are close, he whispered. I pressed a finger to my lips, even though he didn't need the gesture to understand. We stayed perfectly still as shadows passed over the cracks in the hatch. A voice barked orders above us. Check every structure. We're picking up unusual radiation readings. My blood froze. Radiation, Kyle's energy signature. They were tracking him. When the footsteps finally faded, I exhaled shakily. We don't have much time, I said. They're narrowing in. Yes, Kyle replied, but before they find me, you must understand one more thing. I turned to him. And Kyle said, if humanity chooses fear, you will lose the greatest gift ever offered to your world. But if even a few choose compassion, the message will survive. My hands trembled. What message? Kyle looked into my eyes, and for the first time since I met him, his voice carried something I had not sensed before. Urgency. The universe is listening, he said, and Earth is about to decide what it will say back. The air inside the tunnel felt colder, heavier, as if the Earth itself sensed what was coming. Kyle's glow had faded to a faint shimmer, barely visible in the darkness. His breaths were shallow now, each one a fragile thread binding him to life. Above us, the military sweep intensified. Boots, radios, metal scraping against stone. Voices calling out coordinates. They were closing in. I moved closer to Kale. We need to get deeper into the tunnel. There's an old storage room. The walls are thick. They won't detect your energy signature as easily. Kyle tried to rise, but his body convulsed with a brittle tremor. He collapsed back against the platform. I cannot, he whispered inside my mind. Yes, you can, I said sharply. I'll carry you again. Just tell me how to keep you alive. Kyle looked at me with an expression I had come to understand, sadness mixed with acceptance. Your world does not know what it holds in its hands. Don't talk like that, I snapped. You're not dying. Silence, then a soft voice. You do not fear for yourself, only for me. I swallowed hard. Damn right. Kyle slowly lifted one trembling hand. I took it instinctively, feeling the cold seep into my palm. My core is collapsing, Kyle said. If it fails, my body will not endure, and my presence will trigger readings your people will recognize. That's why we need to move deeper. No, Kyle interrupted gently. Listen. Before I could protest, Kyle pressed my hand to his chest. A surge of energy jolted through me, not painful, not hot, but illuminating. A soft vibration filled my bones. My vision blurred, then images unfolded before me, not memories, not fantasies, something else. A world bathed in soft blue light, towers shaped like flowing water, beings of light and matter living in harmony, a sky filled with drifting stars that moved like music. Then another vision, a great darkness sweeping across worlds. Fear spreading like disease, civilizations crumbling under suspicion and division. Finally, a small yet radiant point of light. Earth, my Earth, a world trembling between destruction and awakening. The visions faded, and I fell back against the floor, gasping. What was that? I whispered. Kyle's voice was barely audible. Truth. I pressed my hand against my chest, still feeling the echo of that strange energy. You showed me our future? No, Kyle corrected. I showed you what is possible. Outside, a sharp metallic clang shook the tunnel. Someone had found the hatch. Target may be below, a voice shouted. Kyle gripped my wrist, his strength fading. They must not take me. I know, I said, my heart pounding. But I won't let them kill you either. Kale's voice softened. If they capture me, they will not kill me. They will study me, dissect my knowledge, twist my truth. I exhaled shakily. That was worse than death. A beam of light flickered down through a crack in the hatch. Shadows moved above us. The metal groaned as they tried to pry it open. Kyle closed his eyes, his glow flickering like a candle in wind. I do not fear death, human. My people do not cling to life as yours do. What I fear is your world never hearing the message. What message? I demanded. That compassion is the only path to survival, Kyle whispered. Across galaxies, across lifetimes, across all existence. My throat tightened. Why tell me this? Why put this weight on me? Kyle's answer came like a fading heartbeat. Because you listened. Above us, metal screeched. They were almost in. Kyle's body convulsed again, his glow dimmed to a faint ember. Kyle! I knelt beside him, gripping his shoulders. Stay with me, you hear me? Don't go! His eyes fluttered open, barely. You cannot save my body. I can try. But you can save what I carry, Kyle whispered. I shook my head, panic rising in my chest. I don't understand. Kyle raised a trembling hand to my temple. You will. In that moment, a surge of energy spilled through his fingers, light, warmth, and something indescribably ancient. My vision blurred, my mind expanded. Something sacred flowed into me, filling the spaces inside me I didn't even know existed. Then Kale's light faded. His body went still. Outside, the hatch blew open with a deafening crash. Boots stormed in, flashlights cut through the darkness. And I realized, with a terror deeper than any battlefield, Kyle had given me something the world above was not ready for, and now they were coming for both of us. The tunnel erupted in blinding white light, flashlights, shouts, boots pounding against concrete. For a split second I froze, Kyle's still body cradled in my arms, my pulse thundering like it was trying to escape my chest. The soldiers fanned out with mechanical precision, rifles raised, beams slicing the darkness into jagged pieces. "Hands, where we can see them!" a voice barked. I didn't move. I couldn't. I was still feeling the last whisper of Kale's energy inside me. Warm, aching, sacred. The sensation clung to my bones like an after-image of light. As if he hadn't died, but shifted into something else. "Soldier, drop the body!" another voice commanded. Body. The word felt wrong. Kale wasn't a body. He wasn't something to drop. He was a being who had trusted me in his final moments, trusted me with truths my world had never heard. I gently laid him down, not breaking eye contact with the men surrounding me. 4 rifles pointed at my head. 2 more scanned Kale's form. A device hummed, a handheld detector reading radiation, energy signatures, God knows what. "It's him," one soldier muttered. "The readings match command's report." A man stepped forward, ranking officer, hard jaw, eyes colder than the desert night. He didn't look at me first. He looked at Kyle. "What did you do to it?" he demanded. I spoke before I could think. "I tried to save him." "Save?" he scoffed. "Your job was to report and contain. You compromised protocol. You endangered national security. He wasn't a threat." The officer's head snapped toward me. The soldiers around me tightened their grips on their rifles. "What did it tell you?" the officer asked. My mouth went dry. Kyle's last words echoed inside me. "You must not let them know what I have told you, because they would twist it, weaponize it, turn it into fear." I said, "What did it tell you?" the officer repeated, stepping closer. I forced my voice to steady. "Nothing. He was too weak to communicate." The officer studied me. His eyes were sharp, suspicious, cutting through lies like wire. "Search him," he ordered. Hands grabbed my uniform, patting for documents, devices, any sign of recorded evidence. My body tensed, not from fear of discovery, but from something deeper, something that had taken root inside me since Kyle touched my temple. A sense of truth, a sense of responsibility, a message burning silently behind my ribs. "Sir," one of the soldiers called, "the body's energy levels are dropping fast. Whatever signature we detected is almost gone." The officer knelt beside Kyle, inspecting him with gloved hands, like he was a piece of malfunctioning equipment. "What a waste," he muttered. "We needed it alive." I felt something snap inside me. "His name was Kyle," I said. The officer turned, startled. "What did you say?" "He wasn't an it. He had a name." Silence dropped like a stone. The officer stood slowly, eyes narrowing. "You formed an emotional connection." His tone dripped with disgust. "Unacceptable. He wasn't an animal." I shouted. Rifles snapped upward. Voices barked warnings. I threw my hands up, breathing hard. The officer stepped inches from my face. "What did it give you? What did it show you? Because beings like this don't die for no reason." He wasn't wrong, but he could never know the truth. "I told you," I whispered. "Nothing." A long, dangerous pause followed. Then the officer smiled, cold and thin. "You're lying." I didn't respond. "Sedate him," he ordered. "He'll talk once he's under." A soldier approached with a syringe. My heartbeat spiked. I stepped back instinctively. Then something unexpected happened. The lights overhead flickered. The energy detector in the soldier's hand spiked violently. Static crackled across the tunnel walls like invisible lightning. Kyle's body, which had been completely still, released a faint, pulsing glow. The same warmth that had entered me was now radiating outward. The soldiers stumbled back, shields raised, shouting over each other. "What the hell is happening?" "Radiation spike!" "Sir, step away!" But I didn't move. I stepped toward Kale because I felt it. Not heat, not danger. A message, a presence, a lingering echo of something divine. Kale hadn't left nothing behind. He had left everything. And in that moment, as the soldiers panicked and the tunnel hummed with a soft, otherworldly vibration, I understood. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The tunnel vibrated with a low, resonant hum, like the final note of a song only the universe knew how to play. Kyle's body flickered with pale, fading light, and the soldiers around us scrambled, shouting into radios and raising shields as if facing a bomb about to detonate. But I felt none of their fear, because the warmth pulsing from Kale's body wasn't fire, it wasn't radiation, it wasn't danger. It was the same presence I had felt when he touched my temple, the presence that had whispered, "Do not fear," into the deepest cracks of my soul. One soldier lunged forward with the syringe meant for me. I stepped aside without thinking. The hum grew stronger, and all the flashlights flickered violently, plunging the tunnel into brief pockets of darkness. Panic erupted. "Sir, what's happening? Readings are off the charts. Fall back, fall back." But I didn't fall back. Something inside me, something Kale had awakened, pulled me forward. I knelt beside him as the last remnants of his glow ebbed like dying starlight. His limbs lay still, but I felt him, truly felt him, inside my mind, fainter than a whisper. "You must go." My throat tightened. "I'm not leaving you. My body is gone. But my message remains. In you." The warmth in my chest expanded until it felt like a second heartbeat. Memories, sensations, truths beyond language flowed through me, not as stories but as knowing. Compassion is survival, fear is extinction, love is the constant that binds all thinking beings. Then Kyle's voice faded, not vanishing, but dissolving into something bigger, something woven into the fabric of silence. A soldier shouted behind me, "He's getting too close to it." Another voice, "We have to extract both." I stood slowly, turning toward them. For the first time since the crash, I wasn't afraid, not of death, not of discovery, not of what they would do to me, because Kyle had shown me the truth. Fear was the very thing destroying us. "One last warning!" the officer barked, raising his weapon. "Step away from the specimen." I stepped closer instead, and in that instant, everything changed. The hum collapsed into a final pulse of light so soft the soldiers didn't understand what it meant. But I did. It wasn't an explosion. It wasn't energy discharge. It was Kale's farewell. A breath of peace expanding outward, touching everything for a fraction of a second. Every mind, every heart, every soul in that tunnel. Even the soldiers stopped shouting. Their faces softened with confusion, as if some invisible hand had brushed away their rage. Then it was gone. The light steadied. The detectors went silent. Kyle's glow extinguished completely. A stillness settled over the tunnel. "What? What was that?" one soldier whispered. The officer swallowed hard. "Bag the body, sedate the witness." They moved toward me, but they were too late. Kyle's final gift had already taken root inside me. Clarity, calm, conviction. I stepped back into the darkness of the tunnel, not running, not hiding, simply moving with purpose. The soldiers shouted, but their voices felt distant. When they finally subdued me, dragging me into the light of day, I did not resist. They questioned me for hours, days, weeks. I repeated the same story. I found nothing, I saw nothing. The crash was a drone malfunction. They didn't believe me, but they couldn't prove otherwise. Kyle had erased every trace of himself except what he had placed within me, and that part of him was unreachable to them. Eventually, they released me under surveillance, thinking I was harmless. They were wrong. I left the military. I disappeared from public life. And for decades, I kept silent. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Kyle's message wasn't for governments. It wasn't for interrogators. It wasn't for people who would turn wonder into weapons. It was for those who could listen, those who could feel the truth without needing to own it, those who understood that compassion is not weakness. It is the greatest force in the universe. Now, as an old man telling this story for the first time, I understand why Kyle chose me. Not because I was special, but because I was willing to listen. He didn't come to Earth to conquer. He didn't come to warn. He didn't come to convert. He came to remind. And now the message is yours. Not proof, not evidence, just a decision. Will you choose fear, or will you choose compassion? If my story touched something inside you, even a small spark, then do me a favor. Hit the like button so more people can hear this message of compassion. Tap the hype button too. It tells me you're here with me, that you're listening, and I want to know something. To prove you stayed with me until the end, write this single word in the comments: light. Just that, light. Because that was Kyle's final gift. And now it lives in anyone who dares to believe. Tell me also where you're listening from, your city, your country. I read every comment, and each one reminds me I'm not alone in what I lived. Thank you for staying with me through this truth I carried for a lifetime. See you in the next story. And remember, do not fear. Choose compassion.